hiring sucks. I know it. Everybody knows it. But you're telling me that maybe it doesn't have to.
It really, not only does it not have to suck, it can be a pleasant experience and actually make your life and your work better.
Let's say, like, if you work at a company, we'll get to that. But like the advantage of working for a company is that you probably know like what type of role you have to hire for, if not who to hire. And we will absolutely get to that part. But I think if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creator, if you're building your own business, you may not even know what to hire for. And I get these questions all the time. Like some people say, like hire an editor or producer or like logistics person to take like the production work off your plate so you can create more. Some people say hire like an agent, a manager, a business person, a business development person so that you can increase the amount of work you're doing. Like the first one is push, this one is pull. And even other people will say hire someone to do the hiring for you because you're probably not very good at that. How do you figure out what to hire when you're starting out?
Well, the first thing is you want to actually write down the things that cause you the most amount of stress, that take up the most amount of time, the things that you are not skilled at, the things that are going to be able to make your work life easier, better. Those are the things, and then put them in a hierarchy so that you can hire the one person at first that's going to take the most off your plate that you don't enjoy or you're not good at doing.
I love that. Now, what I've also heard is that some people will focus on almost like a structure and say like, well, I need a CEO, a COO, like a marketing person, a salesperson, and other people focus on the jobs that need to be done. And they make a list of those jobs and then they hire, like maybe someone does multiple jobs, but it's less important what the corporate or like the company structure is and more important, like what work is actually being needed.
Yeah, I think that that is a good way to be able to do it. I think that what we need to take a look at is you need to actually prioritize, and that means write it out, the things that you actually need. And you need to, sometimes we want something, but we don't need it. And that's a huge difference. Sometimes we would like to have someone that would be our personal assistant to bring us coffee and do other things. We don't actually need that. So then if we have a difficulty with resources, then get the people that you actually need. Even if the hiring process might take a little bit more time, it will be worth it in the long run.
And some people also, I think I've heard they index based on like preventing burnout. Like there are certain Marquez Brownlee had this famous like octopus. There's the 8 jobs that he had to do. There were some that he loved and some that he hated. And the ones that he hated just burned him out and caused a drain of energy and made him not want to do things. So hiring those first sort of just increased quality of life.
So I think that that's a wonderful way to go through it. Burnout is actually caused by emotional stress. It's often not doing a whole bunch of things or things that even take up a lot of time. It's the ones that stress you out emotionally, that make you fear failure, that are in a growth area, that are just not part of your skill set, that take up a lot of time that you do not enjoy. And so often people look at things that take up a lot of time, but that might be actually what you enjoy doing. And that's why you spend so much time doing that. And that often will bring you joy and not cause burnout. So it's not often just time. You want to think about emotional mind space, like kind of mental real estate and how much is being taken versus how much gives back to you. You want to get rid of this stuff, even if it's really time consuming, maybe meeting with the populace or the people that love your channel or going through things or writing back to people. That might be something that you love to do. So then that's what you want to be able to keep and get rid of the things that you're not good at, that you don't enjoy, that take up time or that give you a lot of stress. Sometimes just writing one email might give you like so much stress that you can't function or do anything else or enjoy things. So you want to be able to enjoy your work life, and that creates work-life balance.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. And then the next part though, I think that people struggle with is, oh, wait, I'm going to fix this in post. Never mind. I'm going to keep going. So action item for this is figure out everything that needs to be done, the things that you want to get off your plate, and then that's what you should hire for. Is that right?
Yes. And I would say that when you are choosing someone to hire, you want to choose not just by the skill set that they have, but on the character traits that they bring to the table. So that means that you need to know you, who do you work well with, who do you enjoy working with, and what character traits are good for the job at hand. If you hire someone that is your media person or the face of your company and they hate people or they're aggressive and snippy, this is not going to work out well. If you hire someone that's going to be your personal assistant, but they remind you of your really negative parents, this also is not going to work out well. And so you need to know what are the character traits that you enjoy working with, and also what are the character traits that make someone good at the job that's at hand.
All right. So you need to figure out first, like who to hire in terms of job function, but then you need to figure out who to hire in terms of the relationship you have, like what type of person how do you know that? Is it based on the type of person you are, or like some like understanding of the business, the type of people they have to interface with? Yes to all of that.
Yes, unfortunately, to all of that. And that's where I often help companies be able to like figure out like what is your company culture? Because you also want to have someone that will fit nicely within the company, but also be different enough to bring something to the table. So you can't have something like you only need one really toxic, mean, aggressive person to kind of lower the mood of the entire company. But there's some jobs that need someone that might be more bold and be able to not worry about conflict to be able to get the job done. So you want to be able to have that balance. But also you need to know you. If you are really bad at time management, you need someone probably that is going to be good at time management, but that can package when you are late in a way that is not going to annoy you or make you feel like you're being parented, or being parented in a loving way that you can appreciate it. And someone that is going to make you feel good and that you can do more things. So that will inspire a company to do more. That's also really helpful.
So first step, how do you identify the kind of people that you work well with or that will work well with your stakeholders, constituents, whomever they are?
So the first thing that you want to do is you want to remember that when you're working with someone, it's more how they make you feel and what are the repercussions to their actions. If other people feel good and will do more and they're able to actually get the jobs done that need to be done. So a lot of times it's how things are packaged more than what is actually in them. Someone that's really good with people skills are good when you give them jobs that they have to deal with people. People that are good with organizational skills, those are the ones that you want to be able to help with doing things that are behind the scenes to be able to make sure that they are in packages that other people can be able to manage and deal with. Remember, stress happens when we feel like there's too many things that we're juggling in the air, or we feel like we're lost or we're dealing with an unknown. So having someone else there that's calm under pressure can be really helpful. But you also need to know who you are. And in order to do that, you have to be really honest. That means you need to know what your flaws are along with all of your skills. And sometimes we're really good at lying to ourselves. So sometimes we are saying, oh, I'm really good at time management, but you're always late. Like you have to look at the facts. Sometimes
but there's reasons for that. Like I can explain all of that.
Yeah,
I can rationalize it.
Yeah, exactly. But that might be your point of failure. And so you need to just look at your points of failure in the past and the people that you worked really well with. That's going to give you some of those clues. And if not, you can just like hire someone like me and be able to go through a personality profile of who am I. Unfortunately, the ones that are online, like they give you like a set of numbers and data, and that gives you some sort of information to it. But really, you need to meet people because someone might have like, an ENFP and you're like, ooh, that person's going to be great with me because I'm an, INFJ.
I'm a yellow type omega with Aries ascendant.
Yeah. There's sometimes just maybe a quirk that you can't handle, and that's going to cause you a distraction and you don't like it. So you want to be honest with what you do well, and you want to be honest with the people that you work well on. But I think that that's a lot of the skills that we're not taught in school of who are we and what makes us thrive and who are good partners to us, which work so well when you're understanding of that. But we should be really taught that in school. It's difficult sometimes for people to be able to look at themselves in such an honest way.
So is that like you go back to your lists now and you list out like the qualities you're looking for in a person and the qualities in yourself and you try to mix match those?
You want to write down those character traits. So I do really well with someone that's positive but still concise, with someone that is good with boundaries and consequences, but that can package it in a kind way. And you want to be able to write that down to be able to understand what makes things work and what makes it pleasant for someone to work with you, and vice versa. So I think that we need to actually track it. And then the difficult part is not even knowing it. The difficult part is then how do you find someone that has those character traits? Because you
So
can
before we get to
easily
that, it's
just
like, is
say
it, I just have I
Yeah,
have a
sure.
shortcut question here, and I don't know if this will
Sure.
work. Is it good to sort of make those like in relation to your existing, like, you know how you relate to people you already know. So like I could say like, I want somebody like Bill. I do not want somebody like Ellen. Never let Bill and Ellen see that list. But like, is that a helpful way to help? Like, because I think you said we lie to ourselves. So looking at our current relationships, does that give us a guide to what might be good relationships for work as well?
It could, but the only thing is that personal relationships, like you might not like someone that's very good with time management. That
Okay.
might stress you out and you don't want to hang out with them. But for a work situation, you need this person. So
Got it.
sometimes it might be different than what you have in your personal relationships because might not need to be on time outside of work, but you really need it and appreciate it when you're there. So sometimes someone might rub you a little bit the wrong way, but in a good way that makes you actually better. And so it might be worth the fact that you're a little irked every time they tell you that you're running late. You need to hurry up.
Yeah, I think that's a really serious thing, because we have a lot of examples of people who are incredible when they're paired with like a really good editor, a really good author, a really good manager. But when they become like powerful or rich or like self-actualized enough, they no longer feel like they need that. And then the work is just never the same. And like, this is like the most trite analogy possible, but like George Lucas with good editors, producers, directors, writers made Star Wars. George Lucas, when he thought he didn't need any of those and just had like yes people, made the prequels.
Yes, I
Like
mean,
Johnny
people are
Ive
going
with
to
Steve,
hate you for saying that. Some people love the prequels, but I'm with you.
whatever. But like Johnny Ive with Steve Jobs made like the iMac, the iPhone, the iPad. Johnny Ive without Steve Jobs made like gold, like 18 karat gold watches and concussively clear glass. Like, I think to your point, sometimes you need the people who make you the better you.
Sometimes you need to hear the word no, and they need to have enough power that you have to listen to some people that have the word no. Unfortunately, often when we become more rich, more powerful, we often end up with a whole bunch of yes people that are around us that will indulge our worst traits and behaviors because we've cut out all the people that kind of irk us. And I think that we are we're much worse at dealing with distress, at dealing with people that believe things that are different. We just kind of can cut them out of our social circles so effortlessly that
Yeah.
we're not learning that sometimes difference is a good thing, and listening to other people's opinions that may be against our own, even if it sometimes might hurt your feelings a touch, is also something that's good for growth.
Yeah, last Steve Jobs analogy, I promise. But like, he was famous for saying hire smart people and then trust them. And like, he didn't want to put iTunes on Windows, but Eddie and Phil did. And he said, fine, do it. Like, if it goes wrong, it's your fault. He didn't want to make a small iPad, but Eddie said, we're going to do it. And he said, fine. But like, if you do it and it goes back, like he let them win those things. Cause he said, like, why would I hire them otherwise? Where like infamously Jeff Bezos insisted on a parallax screen for his shopping phone. And the designer said, that's dumb. And he fired them. And the other designer said, that's dumb. I'll fire you. Okay, fine, we'll do it. And it was like a huge flop. Like they like being the boss sometimes means like hiring people who can like challenge you, but also keep you in check.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think that makes it like just difficult is how do you find those people?
One school of thought is you hire someone who helps you be more of you. Like you don't want like someone exactly like you because you'll teach them what to do and they'll go off and do it on their own. But you hire a version of you that's risk adverse so that like they don't want to do it on their own. They want to be part of a team, but they have the same sort of entrepreneurial or creator or business like site that you do, and they can just accelerate you faster. Where other people like talk about hiring a complement, like you're good at this, so you get your opposite that's good at something else. And you're not teaching them for them to leave because like on their own, like neither of you are as good on your own as you are together. I don't know if you should be hiring based on fear of people leaving, like, but like in general, those are the two approaches I've heard.
There's also like a lot of people enjoy collaborating and working together with other people. And again, people sometimes go and leave. If you have a wonderful product, you're doing wonderful things, you don't really have to worry about other people doing something that might be similar or different to it. You also want to remember that you want to hire people and pay people to keep, not too cheap. Because if you do that, then people are going to want to leave because they're not being treated well. And so I think that just hiring for the lowest baseline numbers is not a great way, because then people that are really talented and good at what they do are going to go and find a job where they can get paid for that. So you want to take a look at people that want to work together, that enjoy collaborating, that enjoy working with you. And then again, if they go off, people are sometimes going to go off, but I think that making fear-based decisions or decisions on people that might do A, B, and C is a losing way at looking at things. If you have people that enjoy working with you, enjoy doing things, they're going to stay there for as long as possible. And yeah, no matter what you do, some people will leave. Some people might do something that's similar. And you want to make sure that you're not overly thought of like, oh, I'm just going to hire a certain personality type because of that. You find someone that's perfect, that works with you well, and that you enjoy it, and you treat them really well, they'll stay, and they'll stay for a good deal of time.
So how do we find this person, Georgia? Like, let's say we've put out our feelers. Maybe we did like some Instagram stories, a LinkedIn post, like look for a hiring survey, like whatever. We've got the word out. And now there's like, because like the world is wild today, 2,000 resumes come flooding in. What do I do at that point?
So again, if you're doing it yourself, you're just going to first start off with just cutting out the ones that don't meet the basic criteria of the job at hand. That makes it really easy. You're going to want to grab the cream of the crop, but you're also going to look at the amount that they expect to get paid versus the amount that you're able to pay, and location and other pieces. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're just going to triage this. So the basic people that don't go through that level, you're just going to get rid of that. You're also going to.
So you make a list. Sorry, I'm going back to lists a lot. You have a list of what your criteria are, what like the deal breakers are, and then you sort of filter based on that list.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, again, you can have someone else do that. You can have a group of people doing that. You can probably even have an algorithm that's going to be able to do that, just because it's basic stats. So the people that don't make the basic stats, that don't have the skill set of what you need, that makes it easy to get rid of the people that are not going to be great for the job. Now, what ends up happening...
Sorry, I hate that I'm interrupting so much. I just have so many questions about this. Is there like a size of group you want to get down to? Like, is there a manageable amount? Like, you want to get down to the top 5, the top 10? Does it not work that way?
It depends on how big the company is, really, and how many people you're going to go through with the interview process for it. So you want to get a manageable amount where you can get a personal interview. And so that might be 25, that might be 7 people, but you're going to just triage all the way through to not having the skill sets. And then I would want you to go through, and which people do not seem to have from the writing, the emotional skill sets that you would like to have. And so that's going to be that part where they actually write through it. Now that means that you should read these, or at least overview them. And I get that at a certain point, you're like, you know what? This is enough. So yes, at a certain point where you think that you have a pool of people that is a manageable amount for your company to be able to look through, then you can start the interview process. But if you have not done the personality types that you want, that you work well with, and that you need, then this interview process is not going to be worth its weight. You want to make sure you have actually done this. This is not a step that you should skip. A lot of times when it works out with a skill, but there's just a mesh where they don't fit with the company's culture, with what they're doing, with how they feel, that can be a huge issue. So you want to make sure that you know what you're hiring for when the interview comes in, because at that point, it should be a little bit about the skills, but a lot about the personality type.
Did you just vibes me? Did you totally just vibes me? It should be about the, like, is that a thing though? It should be about the vibes.
It should be about the character traits and skills.
Okay.
But emotional skills, the skills at dealing with stress and the type of stressful situation that your company might have, you want that. Remember, you can teach people how to work many different things, but who someone is as a person is pretty hard set and very difficult to change. So if that doesn't work for you, if you need someone that's really good with time management and they're going to constantly show up late, or they showed up late for the interview, which sometimes does happen, but probably not a good thing for the first interview, that's probably already going to be an issue where you're like, that's a little bit of a red flag, and that's not going to work, even if they have the best skill set for the job at hand.
Is there a way to map like what you need for the job, what like in terms of skills, what you need for the job in terms of like personality type and emotions, to the people? Like, are there things that you specifically look for, like in the screening process to get to those people you interview? And then I guess during the interviews, you look for those more intensely?
Well, it all depends, right? If you want to have someone that is a caretaker that's going to be caretaking people, then you're going to want to look for people that already do things that are in that field and that are successful at it. Again, it can be at a smaller scale, but someone that is good at caretaking people is good at caretaking people. And so if you already hire someone that's already done something similar, even if it's in a different genre, in a different form, that works out really well because that's translatable skills. Just looking at stats in just a vacuum, that doesn't give us a lot of information, but to see how they can apply it and show it under duress, if it's a very stressful job, then you want to make sure that someone can handle and do the job under stress, because not doing it in stress and doing it under stress are completely different things. And some people just have a freeze reaction or have an avoidance reaction. And so they're going to avoid that when they're stressed out versus when they're calm. So you just want to be really aware of what happens in your company and what personality types are going to be really effective at dealing with that.
One thing I've also seen is like sometimes you find a person who's amazing, but the specific job is just not the best fit. But if you move them over to another job, like suddenly it's fantastic. Like I know we had a news editor a long time ago that just wasn't that interested in news, like didn't enjoy it, moved them over to do like editorial about other things. Fantastic. Like incredible. Got poached by Apple. I mean, it was just such a good fit. Is that one of the, like, do you want to, if you find someone who's great, maybe if they're not a perfect fit for that job, is it still worth thinking it through? Or do you really want like to nail each one individually each time?
It depends on how big your company is and how much money, because in the end, you hiring and you training someone is a lot of time, effort, and money. And that's why I say that you hire someone and pay someone to keep, not for cheap, because the cost and emotional energy of having to move someone or feeling that distress or they're not dealing with it, or that emotional distress of having to fire someone, that probably should be an entire podcast on its own. It's just really hard on everyone that's involved. So if you can get it as close to right as possible, that's great. If you have a big enough company where you can move someone to do it so that they can become successful in another job, that's great as well. But there's a lot of places that do not have the overhead to be able to do that. So yes, if you can translate it, that's wonderful. But a lot of times we can't. People can't afford that, or their company isn't big enough to be able to do that.
I once watched the person who made WebKit and Safari for Apple talk about how they hired that team. And it was interesting because all the things that you would, or at least back then, what I traditionally thought of as like being knowledgeable, being smart, were like the lowest possible things. Like if you're not knowledgeable, you can be taught, if you're not like, but the most important thing for them was like you could count on them. They were trustworthy, because otherwise, like you can't go to sleep at night if you can't trust them to do the job. If you can't trust them to do the job, you still have to do the job. Because I think part of it is being able to let go of the jobs that you hire for. Does that hierarchy make sense?
I think that that's a wonderful way to look at it. And also, if you have to constantly micromanage or you're not able to let go, which could be your own thing that you need to work on, right? That's where you have to know who you are as the person that's hiring, what kind of a boss you are. But being able to micromanage is then you're doing the job twice. What use is that? You want to be able to hire people that you can let go of, that you know are going to do that care enough about the job that even when you're not looking, they are still going to want to do a good job. And that is a specific personality type. Someone that's more like perfectionistic, more type A, that is a caretaker. Those type of people will want to be proactive, will be thinking about the job at hand because they feel bad on their own, not even if you're watching, if something doesn't go right. Those are the kind of gems that you want to hire for a company that is almost in any position that they do are going to do really well at it because they feel bad not doing well. They care. So you want someone that cares. You want someone that it matters. And if you have a strong person that's a caretaker but still is balanced enough to take care of themselves so they don't burn out, they're going to actually preemptively think about what you need and what you want and problem solve before you even come to them. And those are those golden gems that when you find them, you want to snap them up, pay them really well, give them enough vacation days so they'll never want to leave. because they're just golden and they're rare to be able to find.
You figured out what you need. You figured out who you need. You've used those as filters against all the potentials. And now you're down to like the last few. How do you like, because you don't want to like get fooled and then hire somebody who's terrible and like have to live with that for a while. Like, how do you figure that out during the interview process?
That is that key that you want to get. And so a lot of that is now following your gut. You've already got the stats. You've already got the character traits. You already know what your company is and what you need. Now you want to follow your gut of this person I think about. I thought they would be enjoyable to work with. They'll make me better. They already brought ideas to the plate when they came into the interview that I thought, that's pretty impressive. I kept on thinking that working with them would be A, B, and C. I already think about what it would be like in a year when we handle this project together. And that would make this more enjoyable, more fruitful, more effective. And so once you get that, follow yourself, trust yourself. That's why you need to know yourself and then go with it.
All right, you know what I want?
What do you want?
I want people to give us their best and worst hiring stories in the comments and any questions they might have. But I really want to read some juicy stories.
I do too, actually. There's some great ones out there.